Alright, this video is all about some practice. So I've got, remember I said 10 problems, I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 problems. So I will write those down. Once they're down, pause the video, work the problems, and then when you are done, and only when you are done, restart the video and check and see how you did. Alright, your problems are k plus 3.2 is equal to 8. Then we have 2m plus 1 is equal to 13. We have 24 equals t divided by 8. And the quantity, which means in parentheses d divided by 2 plus 6 is equal to 7. And then your story problem, there were some bags of used clothing left after the yard sale was over. Hal and Patty took 12 bags to the thrift shop and left 3 bags in the basement. How many bags of clothing were not sold at the yard sale? And again, with this one, you do want to come up with an equation and then solve the equation. So that's what you got. So pause the video, work on these 5 problems. When you are done, and only when you are done, restart the video and check and see how you did. Hopefully 5th graders, you've got some good answers. Now let's check and see how accurate they are. Alright, for the first one, k plus 3.2 is equal to 8. First thing we have to do is we have to get the variable by itself, and we do that by getting rid of 3.2. What's the opposite of adding 3.2? We're going to subtract 3.2. Whatever I do on one side of this symbol, I do on the other. So I'm going to subtract 3.2. This is going to cancel out and give me 0, so all I've got left is k, and that's going to be the same as, now I have to do a little subtraction here, 8 less 3.2. I have to add, this is going to be 7, this is going to become 10, 10 less 2 is 8, bring my decimal point down, 7 less 3 is 4, so k is equal to 4.8. Alright, let's look at our next problem. 24 is the same as t divided by 8. Again, we want to get our variables on one side and our numbers on the other. It's easier to leave the variable where it is right here. So what's the I have to undo divide by 8. To undo divide by 8, I'm going to multiply by 8. Whatever I do on one side of the same as symbol, I'm going to do on the other side. So multiply by 8. These two are going to cancel each other out because they're going to be 1, and then I'm going to multiply this, so what I'm going to be left is t. T is the same as 8 times 4 is 32, write down the 2, carry the 3, 8 times 2 is 16, plus 3, 16, 17, 18, 19. So t is equal to 192. Okay, now we have moving up here, now we have 2m plus 1 is the same as 13. So first thing we have to do, we want to get our variables on one side and our numbers on the other. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract 1 from both sides, because this will now cancel out, and what I'm left with is 2m is equal to 13 minus 1 is 12. Now, what's the opposite? This, remember, is 2 times m. How do we get rid of times 2? I divide by 2. Whatever I do on one side of the equal sign, I'm going to do on the other. So I'm going to take 12, and I'm going to divide it by 2. And what I'm going to have is m is the same as 12 divided by 2 is 6. Okay? Alright, now we have the quantity, and I say the quantity because that's what it means when we put something in parentheses, the quantity. Okay? The quantity d divided by 2 plus 6 is equal to 7. Well, the first thing we can do, and we can do this independent, is we have to get rid of the plus 6. Okay? What's the opposite of add 6? It's going to be subtract 6. Whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other, so I'm going to subtract 6, and what I'm going to have left is d divided by 2 is equal to 1. Now, what I can do, boys and girls, because there isn't anything else, I can get rid of these parentheses, okay? Because there's no other thing to do. And then I can ask myself, what's the opposite of divide by 2? Well, the opposite of divide by 2 is times 2. And this will give me 1. Whatever I do on one side of the same as sign, I have to do on the other. So I'm going to times by 2. So now I have d equal to 1 times 2 is 2. And if you want, you can plug 2 in here. 2 divided by 2 is 1, plus 6 equals 7. Alright, so now we're left with our story problem. And let's check and see how this one turned out, okay? There were some bags of used clothing left after the yard sale was over. Hal and Patty took 12 bags to the thrift shop and left 3 bags in the basement. How many bags of clothing were not sold at the yard sale? Now, we can set this up many different ways. One way is not going to be correct, okay? We'll start with the correct way. We know what's left. We know what's left, and that's going to be left is 3. Okay, and now we have to figure out this side. Well, we know that 12 were taken, and after 12 were taken, 3 were left. So we have a number beforehand, so we have b less 12 will give us 13, or b, the number of bags originally, minus the 12 that were taken to the thrift shop, would equal 3. That's what we're left in the basement. Now, this is the correct way to write this equation. Alright? You cannot, the reason why we write it this way and not what some of you, I'm guessing, did when you did 12 plus 3 equals b. Now, boys and girls, this is not an equation. This is not an equation where we're going to solve for a variable. It is an equation, but you don't even need the variable here. You could just, because you're going to solve for that. So what we want is we want the variable in part of this side with the algorithm. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Now that we have this done, we're ready to solve it. Okay? Let's just write it again, because b minus 12 is equal to 3. Now, we want to get the variables on one side, the letters on one side, the numbers on the other side. Okay? Now, we have b minus 12 is equal to 3, so let's get rid of this 12. What's the opposite of minus 12? Well, the opposite of minus 12 is going to be plus 12. Whatever I do on one side, I'm going to do on the other. Okay? Minus 12 and plus 12, they're going to cancel each other out, so you're going to be left with b, and then you have 3 plus 12 is going to be 15. So there were 15 bags not sold. Now, if you look back here, boys and girls, 12 plus 3, you're going to get 15. You will get 15. But the problem is that this right here is not an algebraic equation. So we're going to cross that out. It's not algebraic because it does not have a variable. It does not have a variable in the equation part of it. Alright, that's it. Kind of 3 long videos today, but this is important that we understand that. If you do not understand what's going on, please talk to Mr. Winkleman. For the most part, these are things that we've been doing all year in some way, shape, or form, but I think this will be the most confusing for us. Alright? Yeah. If you have any questions, talk to Mr. Winkleman, and you're going to get to talk to him to get your gift, so talk to him then.